Hello, and you're listening to the AI Moment with me, Jonathan Wagstaffe.
And me, Danny Denhard. Today, we're going to tackle something that isn't really being discussed, but Jonathan and I think are or is one of the most important topics under discussed and undervalued right now. And what AI and what truth is within AI, and how governments and corporations have been involved in what is truthful and what's not. Jonathan, where do you stand on this, and how are you explaining this to different people at the moment?
Well, I think for AI to be a really powerful tool, it's obviously a thinking tool and it's an information tool. And for businesses to really get the most out of it, as we look forward, not just to tomorrow or next year, but throughout, we've got to trust the information that's coming out of there. And obviously, the world of business is a very meritocratic world in that there's no getting away from the hard laws of finance, hard laws of physics. So we have to rely on the information we get. It has to be accurate, and the more accurate it is, even if we don't like it, that's the most important thing for business. Now, there've been some worrying developments. We understood earlier this year when DeepSeek emerged, there were some people who did some questions around asking it about various questions of Chinese government policy, and it gave very neutral answers or it refused to answer. And so there was an observation there that, maybe this isn't a complete tool because it's clearly Chinese government influenced, and therefore you can't really trust the information. It's giving you the Chinese government version. But what's been slightly more worrying since, Danny, is that we've now seen some legislation in the US where the US government is wanting to have a say about what the AI platforms regard as true and not true. And we're also seeing some corporation stuff. There was some stuff that came out of Grok recently where they said, the thing had been programmed to sort of consult Elon Musk's opinion or see if he could find out what Elon Musk's opinion was on a subject before it answered. And so we had a crazy 2 days in June when it was, I think it was pro-Nazism or something. They got something wrong and it started going around saying Hitler's a great guy. And so there is a worrying little thing on the side of this amazing tool that is AI. There's a worrying kind of the wrong people saying the wrong things here. It could go in a bad direction, or it could at least stop being as useful as it should be for all of us if we can't trust the information is true that it's telling us. What are your thoughts?
Completely echo everything that you said. I've noticed more and more that a lot of the platforms are leveraging existing platforms to try and usage and people signing up. So on X or Twitter, to most people, if you do @Grok and is this truthful, this is already becoming like a use case people are using, and they're letting Grok tell them what is truthful and what's not. Obviously, that is baked into Twitter. That would be a typical use case. However, you're then very liable to what Grok and what the algorithmic power behind it is telling you. Perplexity, which is the AI search engine, also has this as like a growth hack with X and on Twitter. And you can also do it on WhatsApp as well. So there are going to be a number of different use cases where businesses and consumers are going to be given what is truthful and non-truthful by the systems that they use. And to me, that's a worry. And it does make me wonder how we can ever ensure that AI is giving us the right answer or the truthful answer. So something that I was asked recently is, if OpenAI decide what is in and what's out, what's truthful and not truthful and non-truthful, could they have a completely different version of what Claude would have or what Grok would have? And it is completely possible, and we're already seeing it slightly in some of the results. But as you said, with the government legislation in the US, this could be in every country, and the EU has already been discussing something fairly similar. So I don't know if we should worry in the sense that the governments already know the power of these tools and working with them. But I do worry that we'll get to a point where it will be Trump's truth versus another truth. And I also wonder how businesses will be impacted by this. So if you're a well-known business and you've had some 1 or 2 bad reviews, and AI decide that actually you're a bad company, and they remove you from the answers, that has a huge impact on your business and your portfolio potentially. And then for consumers, if you're asking your agent to make really good decisions on your behalf or do research on your behalf, and the company with the best tools or the best solution don't come up, that's a huge worry for me. And although it's not too different to what happens with Google because of ranking and authority, it should worry people because 3 in 10 already trust the LLMs over search engines. So they already believe that it's more truthful. So for me, it's a real sticky wicket to be on. So enabling all these tools to say what's truthful and untruthful, it's a worry for me.
Well, I think it goes back to, we're still in the Wild West stage of the AI. And I think we start from a position of everybody being really delighted you've got this sort of intelligent tool that can help you with your thinking, help you with the research, etc. And then we move into the stage like social media did, which started as a very, utopian, can we connect people together and, worldwide? And then the bad actors move in. And so you start to get all the nonsense that started happening 15 years ago with manipulation of elections and all that stuff. The bad actors will move into AI. We know that the criminals will move into AI, but we also know that those who would manipulate the platform for political reasons or other reasons, they will move into AI. So like everywhere else, there will be some stuff I think governments have got to do to legislate. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, but they should. But also, again, as individuals, there's a caveat emptor here: beware the buyer. Just think twice about the information we're being given. I think particularly at the moment, if that information is commercial or political information, just have a little think about where you're getting it from. I think probably if you're doing things like data analysis, it's probably less risky right now. But some of those fields, as these things start to evolve, and also keep an eye on the news, keep an eye on what's going on there, with the big corporations, with the governments. I would hate to see the West go down the route that China's gone down with this stuff. I think it would be a shooting ourselves in the foot exercise, but there's no guarantee.
An additional point towards, to wrap up on some of this is, I actually think a lot of this is power politics. This is deliberate between the governments and the country leaders versus the tech leaders. It's who will have the most power and who can say what goes and what doesn't go on these platforms. It'd be something to keep an eye on, and Jonathan and I will keep keeping you updated on these these rulings. But something I would just voice a little bit of a concern on is, if you're going to be using it and using AI a lot, just make sure anything that's external to you keep an eye on, especially when it comes to your business, because you don't want a government deciding you're in or you're out.
Agreed. I think it's just that's the strategy. Be aware of it, keep an eye on it, and we'll keep you posted as we go.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Jonathan.
Good to see you, my friend. I'll catch up with you next time.
Thanks for listening today. If you've got any questions or any feedback, have a look in the show notes and we'll happily come back to you.